Perhaps we can know God better. And that's why they instituted ages ago the science of yoga, which means union of the soul with spirit. And the soul in us as ego consciousness is nothing but waking and mundane and subconsciousness. And when that ego is overcome, then we know the superconsciousness which is present in deep sleep. And so the state of deep sleep is the presence of God within you. When you say, I'm dead to the world in deep sleep, yes, you are, but when you meditate, and through the science of yoga, the yoga of meditation, contact the holy vibration, the Word of God, you're in the state of deep sleep. Now, don't ever say that you are dead to the world in deep sleep. I mean that you will know nothing. Every time you meditate, as we meditated this morning, and you were conscious of only one thing, the great Word of God, the holy vibration, with its cosmic sound and its light and its love, you were in the state of deep sleep. Now, doesn't that encourage you? It does me. There's no reason why we shouldn't meditate and do our part to keep our life thoroughly balanced between this worldly consciousness and the spiritual consciousness of the presence of God within us. This question is a good question for discussion this morning. Balance, happiness in balance. Because by that happiness, by that balance, we will have all the happiness we want. There's nothing that will give you the peace and happiness and joy as the conscious presence of God at will. When you can consciously, at will, think of it, tune in on God's presence within you and know it. There's nothing that will give you happiness and balance of life as that will. Now, these are not mythical statements. They're available and demonstratable to everybody, everyone in this room, every one of us, because we're made in the image of God, and that spiritual part of us is God's presence within us. And the physical part even is God's presence within us, slightly attached to this worldly living, with all its trouble and tribulation, as the scriptures say. Now, those who meditate also are not in balance. That is, meditate too much. I'm glad I didn't stop with just meditate. Meditate too much. And here I'm telling you that meditation is so essential. I mean, those who meditate too much are not in balance because it leads to what? Laziness. It leads to laziness. And there are certain countries in which, due to their climatic conditions and the habit of too much meditation, they develop that characteristic which is not a characteristic of balance. Both sides are necessary. Activity plus meditation. Both sides are necessary. Now, going on, balance is definitely corroborated by the two greatest commandments in the Bible. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy strength and with all thy might and with all thy power. Means that supports meditation. Because you cannot love God with all your strength and power unless you meditate. Meditation means concentration on God. Unless you concentrate on the power of God within you as the holy vibration, you cannot follow this first commandment. And the second commandment, which is like unto it, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. In other words, you don't have much trouble working for yourself and for your interest, do you? Therefore, the second commandment means you shall see God in your neighbor, and loving him in that neighbor, you shall play your part in the drama of life without hesitancy, with great joy, and you will play it to please God. That's the only way to play this drama of life without being captured by the delusion which we find in it. And so what you do in carrying out the second commandment is to play your part in the cosmic dream to please God. That's the easiest way. And doing that, you are carrying out the second commandment of seeing and serving God in your neighbor. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. Think of it. All the law. I don't care whether you're in business or teaching school or what you're doing. Carry out these two commandments, the first of which supports meditation, and the second of which supports activity, which is directed by the high viewpoint of which is given you as you meditate for oneness with God. That's the balance of life we must follow. Activity plus meditation, serving God in both aspects. That's balance. Balance between meditation and activity. And so a balance is necessary. And when you have that balance, you'll be happy. If you don't want to be happy, keep out of balance till you're thoroughly convinced that you want to change and make that balance right. And so, to substantiate the few things which I've said, just a word or two from Master's writings, which I know you all enjoy, especially when they are worked into such a subject as this morning. From one of his books, the Master said, a prominent businessman visited the Hermitage, and after he was introduced to the Master, he said, I am disgustingly healthy and disgustingly wealthy, he said. Well, the Master, you know, is pretty clever himself. So he said to him, but are you disgustingly happy? So the man conceded the point, and it says here, he became a student. So there you have it. Now another reference in the same little book. There were a large group of people gathered in Encinitas on a